I paid every bill while her brother did nothing, then she kicked me out. She chose her freeloading brother over me and threw me out of my own home. So I quietly cut them off, one bill at a time. Before we continue, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. This will greatly help me with promotion. Thank you. Hi, I'm Nate, 34, and the first time I realized I had lost control of my own home, I was standing in the hallway staring down at a pile of my clothes like I was just another stranger passing through. She'd actually done it. My wife, Amanda, had thrown my stuff on the floor, shirts, boxers, even my damn toothbrush, because I asked her brother, Mark, a man fully grown and allergic to employment, to contribute something to the house he'd been squatting in for months. Rent, groceries, dishes, hell, I would have settled for him wiping down the counter once. But apparently, "Can your brother please stop living here like a barnacle?" was offensive enough to get me evicted from my own home. I stood there like an idiot with my bag slung over one shoulder, the front door still half open behind me, while Amanda glared at me like I just slapped her mother. Mark, of course, was sunk into my couch, cereal bowl on one knee, TV remote in hand, not even pretending to hide the grin crawling across his face. That was the part that burned. Not the betrayal. Not the absurdity. The satisfaction in his eyes. He wanted me gone. This was a setup. "You're not sleeping here tonight," Amanda said, arms crossed like a middle school vice principal. "Think about how you treat my brother." I did think about it. I thought about how I bought that couch Mark was now slouching on. How I'd paid every electric bill that powered the TV he was watching. How Amanda and I used to dream together about what kind of backsplash we'd get for the kitchen before he moved in and turned our lives into an overgrown episode of Everybody Hates Nate. I should have screamed. I should have fought. But instead, I just grabbed a handful of clothes, shoved them into a duffel bag, and walked out the door in silence. Because I wasn't coming back the same way I left. The motel I checked into smelled like mildew and regret. One of those places with vending machines older than the receptionist and bedspreads patterned like casino carpet. I lay awake most of the night, staring at a water stain on the ceiling, hearing Amanda's voice echo in my head. "Think about how you treat my brother." Mark. The man-child. The 29-year-old part-time parasite, full-time freeloader. He had been living in our house for almost a year. At first, it was supposed to be a few weeks, just until he got back on his feet. A job loss, a breakup, whatever. Amanda swore he just needed time. So I gave him that. I even offered help, networking, resume tips, a ride to an interview. He declined all of it with a shrug and a spoonful of cereal. Weeks turned to months. Months turned into chore dodging, fridge emptying, Netflix hogging years. Still jobless. Still effortlessly unemployed. And somehow, Amanda kept defending him like I was picking on a wounded duck instead of a grown man who wore cargo shorts and drank the last of my orange juice every morning. But now, lying in that cheap motel, something in me hardened. This wasn't about Mark anymore. This was about Amanda. About her choosing him. Not once. Not impulsively. But again and again and again. I returned to the house the next morning, not because I wanted to fix things, but because I needed to know. Needed to see with my own eyes how deep this betrayal really ran. They were both there. Amanda in the kitchen, acting like she hadn't kicked her husband out less than 12 hours ago. Mark on the couch, controller in hand, wearing one of my hoodies. That was the moment. Seeing him in my clothes, lounging in my house, like he had won some invisible battle I hadn't even known I was fighting. I calmly asked Amanda to talk. She didn't even turn around. Just said, "You left. That was your decision." My decision? She threw my clothes into the hall like last night's garbage, and somehow I was the one who walked out. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I just said it plainly. He's been living here for free. No rent. No chores. I pay for everything and I'm done being treated like the outsider in my own home. Mark's response? He laughed. Man, it's not that deep. Family helps each other. You think everything has to be about money? No, I said. But it damn sure has to be about respect. Amanda finally turned then, her arms still crossed. Mark is right. He's my brother. He's been through a lot. And I'm your husband, I said. But you don't even see me anymore. She didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. And that's when I knew I was no longer her partner. I was just a paycheck with legs. So I picked up my bag again. Walked out the front door. Not in defeat this time, but in strategy. I spent the next 2 days driving. Nowhere in particular, just winding roads and podcasts I didn't really listen to. The silence of my phone became louder with every hour. No calls. No apologies. Just space. Exactly what they thought I wouldn't want. Amanda expected me to come crawling back. That's what people like Mark counted on, that I'd rather sacrifice my pride than shake the foundation of our lives. That I'd swallow the disrespect to keep the peace. They didn't understand who they were dealing with. When I finally stopped driving, I parked at a quiet park overlooking a lake and pulled out my phone, not to call her, but to check my accounts. The joint one was still draining fast. Food. Utilities. Streaming services I hadn't used in weeks. All the spending, none of the earning. The other one, my private account, was untouched. Healthy. I stared at the numbers like they were coordinates. The map out of this mess. That's when the shift happened. I stopped feeling like the victim and started thinking like the architect of their reality. So I moved my direct deposit. Quietly. No announcement. No drama. Just a new destination for my paycheck. From that moment on, every dollar bypassed Amanda's reach and landed safely in my own hands. Next came the credit cards. I froze the ones she used most. Cancelled the grocery store rewards account linked to my wallet. Unsubscribed from every autopay I had set up on our home's bills. All she'd see was error messages and late notices. No explanation, just a slow unraveling of the cushion she'd been lounging on. Let them live in the world they built. Let them pay the bills with love and loyalty and brotherly devotion. I didn't even need revenge. I just needed time. 3 days later, my phone finally rang. Amanda. I stared at the screen for a full minute before answering. The mortgage didn't go through, she said, skipping hello. I sipped my coffee. That sounds serious. Her voice rose. What's going on, Nate? I checked the account and, where's the money? I moved it, I said simply. We're separated, remember? You're being childish. She snapped. You're punishing me for loving my brother. No, I said, calm and clear. I'm reminding you what life without me really looks like. She went silent. I hung up. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. Because for the first time, Amanda and Mark weren't laughing anymore. They were learning. By the second week, Amanda's texts went from passive-aggressive to just plain desperate. Are you really going to let the power get shut off? We don't even have enough for groceries. Mark is trying to find work. He's going through a lot. Each message was like watching a house made of paper slowly realize it's on fire. And I didn't respond to a single one. Instead, I went to work. I smiled at coworkers. I brought donuts on Friday. Nobody knew that my marriage was unraveling like a poorly sewn sleeve, thread by bitter thread. Nobody knew I was quietly watching the collapse from a safe distance, with popcorn and a savings account. The truth is, I didn't want her to suffer. I didn't. But I needed her to see, really see, the difference between love and exploitation. I had been carrying this marriage, this home, her brother, all on my back, and now that I'd stepped aside, the whole thing was tipping over like a folding chair with a missing leg. Mark, of course, wasn't helping. Surveillance by social media told me that. His Instagram stories still showed energy drinks and late-night gaming. No job updates. No effort. Just grind set quotes over images of him microwaving pizza. That's when I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I met with a lawyer. David. Quiet guy. Clean office. A man who didn't blink when I said, "I think my wife and her brother are bleeding me dry." He didn't gasp. He just nodded and said, "Let's take a look at the deed, the loan, and the joint accounts. You've got options." Options. That word lit a small fire inside me. By the end of our meeting, I knew one thing for sure: they weren't as protected as they thought. I was the one on the mortgage. The utilities. The insurance. All of it flowed through me. Amanda's income wouldn't even cover 2 weeks of groceries. Mark's income was imaginary. David's advice? Don't act rashly. Just apply the pressure. They'll show you who they are. So I waited. And the pressure worked. One evening, I drove past the house. I didn't stop. Just watched. The porch light was flickering. Amanda was pacing in the front room with the phone to her ear. Mark was sprawled on the couch, headphones on, completely unbothered. She was drowning. He was gaming. A few days later, a single text arrived. "We need to meet. Just you and me." I said yes. Not because I missed her, but because I needed to know, was she ready to admit what she'd done? We met at a half-empty diner on the edge of town, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and waitresses who call you Han. Amanda looked like a ghost of herself, hair pulled back in a frizzy knot, makeup done in a hurry, and eyes that had clearly seen a few sleepless nights. She didn't waste time. "No hello. No apology. This can't go on," she said, wrapping her hands around a coffee mug like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. "I can't do this on my own. The bills, the food, the stress is crushing me." I stirred my coffee calmly. "Now you know what it felt like." She blinked. "That's not fair." "No?" I leaned in, just a little. "You told me to leave. Threw my clothes on the floor. Laughed about it with your brother while he sat on my couch and ate food I paid for. And now you want me to come back and fix the mess?" Amanda looked away. I overreacted. I was trying to protect him. I nodded slowly. By destroying us. She flinched at that, and for a second, I thought I saw the Amanda I married. The one who used to cry during sappy movies and kiss me on the cheek while I made breakfast. But that version of her had been buried under months of denial and a whole lot of Mark. "I don't want to lose our marriage," she said softly. "But I can't just throw him out. He's family." I sat back. There it was. The line in the sand. Her loyalty was still split, and in that moment I knew this wasn't about love. It was about fear. She wanted me back because she needed stability, not because she'd truly chosen me. And so I said the one thing that had been sitting on my chest for weeks. "Then decide." She froze. "What?" "I'm not asking you to choose between your husband and a stray dog. I'm asking you to decide who your family really is. Because if it's him, then we're already done. If it's me, then he leaves. No more freeloading. No more excuses. You can have both." Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. Just silence. And in that silence I realized something painful. It wasn't just about Mark. It was about the way she let him shift our whole dynamic. How she let him crawl into the space between us and take root. She wanted the life I provided without the responsibility of preserving it. She wanted the comfort of my presence and the convenience of her brother's laziness. But marriage isn't a timeshare. I stood up slowly. "I'll give you time," I said. "But I won't wait forever." Amanda didn't try to stop me as I left. She just sat there, alone in a booth that smelled like syrup and stale hope. And that was when I knew this wasn't just a battle for our marriage. It was the final test of whether she still deserved it. It took another 5 days. 5 days of silence from me. 5 days of missed calls and unread messages, of Amanda trying to juggle overdue bills and a grown man-child who thought job hunting meant refreshing Reddit and complaining about capitalism. Then, one rainy Thursday morning, my phone rang. Her voice was wrecked. Not angry. Not demanding. Just broken. I can't do this anymore, she whispered. I told Mark he has to leave. He screamed. Called me selfish. Said I was choosing a man over my own blood. And what did you say? I asked, keeping my voice calm. There was a pause on the line. Then, I told him I am choosing you. Or I hope I still can. Silence. It was the first honest thing she'd said to me in months. I went back to the house that evening. I didn't announce it. I didn't bring bags. Just walked in quietly like a man returning to a battlefield to see if the war was truly over. Mark was gone. No shoes by the door. No cereal bowls in the sink. No controller on the couch. The air was still, like the house itself had exhaled. Amanda stood in the kitchen, her eyes swollen from crying. He left this afternoon, she said softly. Took everything. Even the blender. I think just to spite me. I nodded. You okay? She gave a half-hearted laugh. Not even close. We sat down at the kitchen table where everything had started. No yelling. No drama. Just the eerie, unfamiliar calm of a house finally purged. I want to fix this, she said. I know it won't happen overnight. I know I screwed up. I lost sight of what mattered. I studied her face. I had loved that face once with everything I had. But now, I wasn't sure if I could trust it again. I'm not coming back for convenience, I said. This isn't about groceries or power bills. This is about respect. Loyalty. Partnership. I can carry the weight, but not while someone else is cutting holes in the floorboards. Amanda reached for my hand, but I didn't take it. Not yet. Then tell me what to do, she said quietly. I looked around the house, the one I'd paid for, bled for, sacrificed for, and I said, earn it back. Like I had to. She nodded slowly, like someone who understood that the real debt wasn't financial. It was emotional. That night, I didn't sleep at the house. I went back to the apartment. But I left with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in months. Because I hadn't needed to yell, to break things, or to make anyone suffer. I had just stepped back, and let the absence do the work. And in that silence, the truth revealed itself. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't rage. It's letting someone sit alone in the mess they swore wasn't real, until they finally see it for what it is.